When we talk about improving our health, most people jump straight into diet, workouts, or supplements, and while those things matter, they're only part of the equation. If we really want to elevate how we feel, how we perform, and how long we live with clarity and vitality, we have to start with the system that governs everything else, the brain-body connection. This isn't a vague concept. It's a real, physical relationship, a feedback loop between your nervous system and every cell, every muscle, every organ in your body. Think of the brain as command central, but it's not just sending out orders. It's constantly listening. Your muscles, your gut, your heart, they're all sending information back up to the brain through the spinal cord and vagus nerve, shaping how you feel, how you think, and how you act. And here's the part most people miss. The quality of this communication loop determines the quality of your health. Now, you might ask, why is this so important? Because when the brain and body aren't communicating well, everything breaks down. You get brain fog, you lose energy, you can't sleep deeply, you get stuck in cycles of anxiety, fatigue, or poor digestion, and you have no idea why. And what's worse, you might try to fix it by treating the symptoms: caffeine for energy, painkillers for tension, or supplements for stress. But the real solution lies in tuning the brain-body circuit itself. There are simple, science-backed ways to do that. One of the most direct routes is through your physical state. Posture, for example, has a direct impact on your neurochemistry. Standing upright with your chest open can increase feelings of confidence and control. It's not just psychological. Your posture changes the pressure on receptors in your body that send signals to your brain about safety, alertness, and readiness. Just that adjustment can begin to change your baseline state. Another gateway into the brain-body loop is your eyes. Where you direct your gaze influences your internal state. If you're looking at a screen all day, locked into narrow focus, you're sending a signal to your brain that you're in problem-solving or stress mode. But when you widen your gaze, when you take in the periphery, especially in nature, you shift into a calm, alert state. That's what's called panoramic vision, and it's one of the fastest ways to downshift your nervous system from stress to balance. Then there's the role of the vagus nerve, the main communication superhighway between brain and body. You can train it, and when you do, you improve digestion, heart rate variability, emotional resilience, and even immune function. Techniques like deep diaphragmatic breathing, humming, cold exposure, and even mindful chewing stimulate the vagus nerve and increase its tone. That's how you build more resilience, not just in your mind, but in your physical system too. What's powerful is that none of this requires fancy equipment. You don't need a lab. You just need a willingness to reconnect with the signals your body's already giving you. When you tune into those signals and respond intentionally, you begin to upgrade the entire system. You become more aware, more grounded, more capable, and this isn't something that takes years. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day of engaging with this loop, whether it's through breathwork, movement, posture shifts, or light exposure, can create real, lasting changes. That's the kind of transformation we're after. Not a temporary fix, but a reconfiguration of the foundation. When the brain and body speak the same language, health becomes a byproduct of alignment, not a battle of willpower. You don't have to force it anymore. You just have to listen and respond, because in that connection lies the control panel for your entire life. This is where real health begins. Most people underestimate the power of something they do 20 zeros, zero times a day, and that's breathing. It sounds too simple, right? But it's actually one of the most direct and immediate ways to influence your brain and body. The breath is unique because it's both automatic and voluntary. That means you can let it run in the background, or you can take control of it, and when you do, you gain access to the nervous system in a way that nothing else can replicate. Every inhale and exhale sends a signal to the brain. Fast, shallow breathing from the chest that tells your brain you're in danger. It triggers a stress response, increases heart rate, and narrows your focus. But when you slow it down, breathe through your nose and drop the breath into the diaphragm, you're sending the opposite message, that you're safe, grounded, and in control. That signal alone can reduce cortisol levels, calm the amygdala, and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest mode. So this isn't just about feeling a little calmer. You're literally shifting your brain state and changing your body's chemistry. One technique that's been studied closely is called cyclic sighing. It's very simple. You take one deep breath in through the nose, then top it off with a second shorter breath, and then release slowly through the mouth. Just 1 or 2 rounds of this can reset the autonomic nervous system. It's not a hack, it's how your body naturally tries to rebalance when you're under pressure. You've probably done it without noticing, that long sigh after a tough conversation or an overwhelming moment. When you do it deliberately, it becomes a tool you can use at any time to get back to a calm, focused state. Then there's box breathing: 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. This technique creates a rhythm that synchronizes your breath with neural activity in the prefrontal cortex. That's the area responsible for focus, decision making, and impulse control. When the breath is steady, the brain becomes steady. Military units use this in high-stress environments. Elite athletes use it before competition. You can use it before a big presentation, during moments of anxiety, or even as part of your morning routine to prime your system. Another important point is nasal breathing. Breathing through the nose increases nitric oxide production, which improves oxygen delivery to your tissues and brain. It also warms and filters the air, enhances lung efficiency, and slows down the breathing cycle naturally. Mouth breathing, on the other hand, is linked to fragmented sleep, anxiety, and even poor cognitive performance. Simply keeping your mouth closed during both rest and exercise can dramatically improve your brain-body connection. But here's what really matters. Breath is the fastest way to change your state, and it's always available. You don't need to leave the room. You don't need to buy anything. You don't even need more time. A few minutes of intentional breathing can shift you out of stress and into clarity. It's like having a remote control for your nervous system, and the more you use it, the more responsive that system becomes. When you start using breath not just to survive, but to regulate, to shift, to direct your energy, your training, your physiology to work for you, not against you, you're no longer a passenger getting thrown around by your environment. You become the driver, you set the tone, and over time, that self-regulation becomes automatic. You walk into stressful situations, and your body already knows how to respond, not with panic, but with poise. The breath is not just air moving in and out. It's a message, a signal, a choice. And when you learn how to send the right message, your brain and body respond with strength, clarity, and balance. One of the most underestimated tools for improving mental and physical health is movement. Not just structured exercise, but intentional, deliberate movement throughout the day. We often think of the brain as something separate from the body, like a control center operating in isolation. But in reality, your brain evolved to support movement. Its entire structure is wired around helping you navigate the world, respond to stimuli, and take action. When you move, you activate networks in the brain that influence focus, mood, and emotional regulation. This is why physical movement isn't just about burning calories or building muscle. It's about creating a stronger, more adaptive brain. When you walk, lift, stretch, or even shift your posture, you're not just using your body. You're triggering the release of neurochemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. These chemicals not only make you feel better in the short term, but they also promote long-term changes in the brain through neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. In fact, the type of movement matters. For example, when you engage in rhythmic, repetitive motion like walking, it creates a bilateral stimulation of the brain. That means both hemispheres are activated in sync, which is deeply calming and stabilizing. You've probably noticed this without realizing it, how a walk in nature clears your head or helps you think more clearly. That's not random. It's rooted in how your brain processes sensory and motor input in real time. What's even more powerful is that movement sends a signal to the brain that you're safe. That's because historically, if you were able to move freely, it meant there was no immediate threat. So the body reduces stress hormones and shifts into a more relaxed, open state. On the other hand, when we stay sedentary for long periods, especially under stress, the body gets stuck in a state of high alert. The brain interprets stillness in the face of pressure as danger, which keeps the stress response turned on. That's why even just standing up, stretching, or taking a few steps can interrupt that cycle and shift your entire physiological state. Even short bursts of movement matter. A 5-minute walk after a meal, a few bodyweight squats during a break, a set of stretches before bed, these micro-actions compound over time. And when done consistently, they create a feedback loop. Your body feels more stable, your brain feels more capable, and your health starts to improve from the inside out. You don't have to run marathons or spend hours in the gym. The key is consistency and intention. If you pair that movement with natural light, exposure, especially early in the day, you amplify the effect. Light regulates your circadian rhythm, tells your brain it's time to be alert, and increases cortisol at the right time, which enhances energy and mood. So moving your body in daylight becomes a powerful lever for aligning your brain-body system. Every time you choose to move, you're not just training your muscles, you're training your mind. You're sending a message of vitality, of control, of readiness, and the brain responds by giving you more of it. The food you eat isn't just fueling your body, it's shaping your brain. Every bite is information. It sends signals that impact your energy, your mood, your focus, and even how well you sleep or handle stress. And what's fascinating is that the right nutrition doesn't just support either the brain or the body, it supports both together. That synergy is what creates a stronger brain-body connection, one that allows you to feel more in control, more balanced, and more capable throughout the day. Start with something fundamental: omega-3 fatty acids. These are critical for the membranes of your brain cells. They help your neurons fire efficiently, which means faster thinking, better memory, and sharper focus. But they also play a role in reducing inflammation throughout the body, including in joints and muscles. So when you're eating foods rich in omega-3s like fatty fish, walnuts, or flaxseed, you're not just feeding your brain, you're improving your body's ability to recover, move, and resist injury. Then there's magnesium. It's involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body. It supports nerve function, muscle contraction, and even helps regulate sleep. When you're low on magnesium, which a lot of people are, you may feel anxious, sluggish, mentally foggy. Restoring those levels through leafy greens, nuts, or supplementation can improve brain function while also relaxing the muscles and reducing tension throughout the body. Protein is another cornerstone, not just for muscle building, but because the amino acids in protein are the raw materials your brain needs to make neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that drive your mood and motivation. Without adequate protein, you're literally starving your brain of the tools it needs to communicate clearly. When you get enough quality protein, you're not only supporting muscle recovery, you're helping your brain produce dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine, all crucial for feeling motivated, stable, and alert. One more piece of the puzzle is blood sugar regulation. Your brain runs on glucose, but it needs a steady, consistent supply, not the spikes and crashes that come from high-sugar, highly processed meals. When your blood sugar crashes, your focus crashes, your energy tanks, and your emotional regulation goes with it. Eating balanced meals with fiber, protein, and healthy fats keeps that supply stable, helping your brain and body stay synced up and functioning at their best. What you put on your plate affects your gut, too, and your gut is packed with neurons. It's sometimes called the second brain. The gut-brain axis is a real communication network, and it's influenced by the health of your microbiome. Fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, or sauerkraut, along with prebiotic-rich foods like garlic and onions, feed the good bacteria that support mood, immunity, and digestion. A healthy gut means a stronger signal back to the brain, clearer communication, better decisions, and greater overall well-being. When you start eating in a way that fuels both your brain and body, you stop fighting against yourself. You reduce friction, you create alignment, and that's when your system begins to operate the way it was designed to: sharp, stable, and strong. Sleep isn't just about rest, it's about regulation. It's the time when your brain and body do their deepest repair work. Your nervous system recalibrates, your hormones rebalance, your muscles recover, and your memory consolidates. And yet, in a world filled with artificial light, late night screens, irregular schedules, and constant stimulation, we've pushed our sleep-wake cycles out of sync with what the brain and body are naturally wired for. And when that internal clock, the circadian rhythm, gets disrupted, everything else follows. One of the most important things you can do to realign that rhythm is to anchor it to light, specifically morning sunlight. Getting bright, natural light into your eyes within the first hour of waking, ideally for 10 to 15 minutes, sends a clear signal to your brain that it's daytime. This kick starts cortisol production in a healthy way, helps regulate your energy levels, and sets the timer for when melatonin will be released later that night. It's a natural reset button for your entire system. Equally important is avoiding bright light, especially overhead or blue light in the evening. The eyes are an extension of your brain, and when they take in artificial light late at night, your brain gets confused. It thinks it's still daytime. Melatonin in production gets suppressed, and that delays sleep onset, shortens deep sleep, and impacts recovery. Even dimming the lights after sunset, using warm, colored bulbs, or switching your devices to night mode can help restore that natural wind-down process. There's also a key role for temperature in regulating the brain-body-sleep connection. Your core body temperature needs to drop slightly to fall and stay asleep. That's why cool, dark environments tend to produce better sleep. You can enhance this process by taking a warm shower or bath about an hour before bed. It sounds counterintuitive, but that sudden rise in surface temperature actually causes your core to cool more efficiently afterward, signaling the brain that it's time to rest. The timing of caffeine matters too. Caffeine blocks adenosine, the molecule that builds up in your brain and makes you feel sleepy. Drinking caffeine late in the day, even as early as 2 p.m., can delay your ability to fall asleep by hours. Managing that timing gives your brain a chance to naturally build sleep pressure and release into deeper sleep cycles. When you align your lifestyle with your internal clock, your brain and body move together, not in conflict, but in flow. One of the most powerful but underutilized tools for strengthening the brain-body connection is mindset, specifically how you use mental rehearsal and visualization. Most people think of training as something you do with your body, lifting weights, running, stretching. But the truth is, your brain doesn't fully distinguish between physical action and vividly imagined action. When you visualize a movement or outcome with clarity and intention, your brain activates the same neural circuits involved in actually doing it. That's a profound insight because it means you can train your physiology without moving a muscle. Olympic athletes have used this for decades. They rehearse their performance mentally, not just watching themselves succeed, but feeling every part of the motion, the grip, the breath, the rhythm. And what the science shows is that this kind of visualization leads to improved performance, faster recovery, and even changes in muscular strength. Your body responds to thought like it responds to action. That's the core of the brain-body connection, but it doesn't stop with performance. Visualization can also be used to influence your emotional state. If you regularly imagine yourself showing up with confidence, calm, or focus, and you do it in detail, including how your body feels, how your breath flows, and what your internal dialogue sounds like, you're reinforcing that neural pathway. Over time, it becomes easier for your body to fall into that state in real life. You've trained it to do so. Gratitude is another mental tool that shifts your physiology, and I don't mean writing down a list of things you're thankful for in a detached way. I'm talking about recalling a real moment when someone did something meaningful for you and allowing yourself to feel it again, fully. That emotional experience lights up specific brain circuits tied to safety, connection, and even immune function. It brings your nervous system out of fight or flight and into a state where healing, clarity, and energy are possible. When you combine visualization and emotional training with breath, posture, and movement, now you're working with a complete system. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're changing your biology. Your brain and body learn to respond with intention, not just reaction. That's what creates resilience. That's what builds the capacity to show up again and again with strength, clarity, and purpose, no matter the challenge. So, when we talk about improving health, it's not about chasing quick fixes or piling on more habits. It's about creating alignment between your brain and your body, your actions and your intentions, your physiology and your mindset. Each tool we've explored, breath, movement, light, nutrition, sleep, and thought, is a doorway into that alignment. And when you begin using them with consistency and awareness, you're not just managing symptoms. You're upgrading the system itself. That's how real transformation happens. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out, one connected decision at a time.